The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
you're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. Thank you. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Wednesday, November 11th, 2017. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, I have to begin this podcast version, not a live show, but a podcast version of the show. I have to begin by thanking our patrons, without whom this is not possible. So, two things I want to talk about tonight that I think are very important. Number one, I had an interesting experience this morning, and I'm wondering if I was going to share it with you or not. And I think I am, because I think it's going to be a transformative moment for me. I quote unquote, debated with a moron, but he's brilliant in his own way. After debating with him, Jesse Lee Peterson, he is, and I use this language very sparingly, but I think he likes the language. I think he likes to be called a coon. He's the black guy who does everything and says everything the most racist white person wants to say, but they can't. And so he gets paid money to say it for them. I don't know if he gets paid good money, but I know he gets paid money. And I debated with him, quote unquote, because I had no expectation of the conversation. I just, he asked me to come on, so I came on. And in the debate with him, I realized something. I realized that intelligence and intellect means absolutely nothing to people who have no desire whatsoever to pay attention or to even acknowledge reality. It means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I'm not just going to belittle him and talk about his propaganda and his ignorance. I'm going to talk about that also. He also had an interesting skill set that I think is very worthwhile, that is going to be transformative for me, because let's just say you catch me once, you're never going to catch me twice. Right. And so all due credit to his technique, which I peeped game, but he was in the middle of it. Here's the thing. If you never acknowledge truth, you can always reject what somebody says and make it seem as though they're not answering your questions. Right? You can always say, oh, you're not answering my question. Brother Benjamin, you're not answering my questions. You're not answering my questions. I'm like, no, motherfucker, I did actually just answer your question. But that is such a powerful technique to just dismiss it and say, you didn't answer my question. No, bitch, I answered your question. It's a brilliant technique. It is brilliant. And what I realized from the experience this morning was, I'll be honest with you, I felt like Jesse Lee Peterson won. Believe it or not, I feel like Jesse Lee Peterson won, because how do you win in a debate with somebody who has zero concern for the truth or the facts or even the reality of the exchange that you're having right now? The reality of the exchange was you asked me a question and I answered the question. Right? But if you don't like the answer, you just say, oh, you're not answering my question. That is brilliant. That is a brilliant, it's sophistry, it is not, it's not reasoning. It's not, logic. It's just performative, but it is brilliant. And I realized something today. This is what I realized. I realized that in the competition on the left, we actually do quite a bit of navel gazing. And this is not an insult. I engage in it all the time. Self-reflection. A lot of reflection. And I'm listening to a podcast this week, Philosophize This. And he said on Stephen West, check it out if you haven't ever. He said on his show something that I said on my show. Monday night, I said something on my show. Tuesday morning, I heard him say the same exact thing on his show. The very worst thing that you can do for your show, for your podcast, or for your whatever it is that you do, your radio show. The very first thing that you could do is be a show that's about self-reflection and challenging your preconceived notions. People don't want to listen to someone who's going to challenge their preconceived notions. They want to listen to people who are going to confirm everything that they believe. You're right. Everything that you believe is right, Johnny. It's not you, Johnny. Trust me. It's not you. It's everyone else. It is everyone else. And I'm here to tell you how right you are. And as much as I want to say this is Fox News paradigm, this is not only Fox News' paradigm. This is MSNBC's paradigm. And you know what? I'm starting to like CNN more. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I do. You know why? Because they're like, okay, we're going to go a third way, not third way Democratic DLC. We're going to entertain everybody because we're going to put up people to just argue with each other from both sides the entire time. So we're not going to tell you that you're right, Johnny. We're going to put up two people to put on a show and let them have a good argument and say ridiculous things. And I actually can respect CNN for that because all of it is entertainment. All of it is entertainment, every single bit of it. And what we do here on my show is that I attempt to challenge everything. I challenge it. I challenge myself. And I think some of you appreciate that, right? I'll be in the middle of a thought and I will challenge myself right then, because for me, not only is that what I do, that's my art, that's my performance, right? I'm doing it as a profession. This is what I do. I think. I can think through anything. And most of the things I've learned are things, most of the things that I later find out that people have already said, and they said like 200 years ago or 2,000 years ago or, whatever. They're things that I thought through and I'm like, I've had this wonderful thought. And then I read a book later and I'm like, okay, somebody already thought about it. I'm a thinker and I want you to be a thinker and I want to challenge you. But here's the problem that I learned this morning with Jesse Lee Peterson and why I felt like this idiot won. It's because when you're in a competition, when you're talking to people who pay zero attention or concern to detail and to fact, and they have no reverence whatsoever for fundamental truths, and they have no reverence whatsoever for the truth inside of the conversation. Forget fundamental truths, the truth inside of the conversation, motherfucker. You can't win. You cannot win if you're trying to win based on intelligence. You can't. And so there's an entirely new frontier that I have not explored, but you goddamn better know I'm going to fucking master. And that is dealing with people who don't believe in facts. Bottom line. Dealing with sophists, yes. Dealing with people who use rhetorical techniques simply to refute anything that's said, no matter if you say the sky is blue, right? Yeah, that's part of it. But you know what it is? We have to learn how to, on the left. I think this is a cautionary tale for everybody on the left, because we can debate each other well. We can debate people like, you don't have time. You do not have 30 minutes. You don't even have 5 minutes. You barely have 2 minutes to explain in conversations with these people because their attention span is that of a gnat. And I'm not saying this to insult them, even though I am throwing shade and insulting them, right? It's because they have been so conditioned to receive their news information and their political information in ridiculous sound bites, and that's it. They don't want to think. They don't want nuance. They do not want nuance. And I think we on the left are the masters of nuance. We on the left are masters of nuance. And here's the thing, that I can't say that I'm disappointed in myself, because I'm not. But the problem with me is that I knew that coming into this game. And I honestly felt that I have to, prove myself. Not that I felt that I had to prove myself. That's not exactly right. Here I go. See, I'm self-reflecting now. Well, I felt as though this was an area where I could just be as smart as I want to be. Right? That I didn't have to, I just felt like we can explore these deep thoughts. So I guess if you're reading between the lines, this is the problem. Hey, what I'm doing right now, this is the exact problem. The exact problem is we think too much. We think entirely too much. And we go through great contortions to explain complex theories. And we can't simply say the problem is that on the left, we need to dumb this shit down. Who said that? From Brooklyn. I used to have a caller on a regular basis. What is my boy's name? I haven't seen him in a while. He unfollowed me on Twitter, which is cool because, you know, people go through changes. But a guy from Brooklyn used to always call in and he said, we need to dumb this down. We got to dumb this down. We got to keep it simple, stupid. We can't make things complicated. And you know why he was saying that in terms of just, I think he was saying it in general, but we have to do it because if we're ever going to win the conversation with the masses, you have to understand that the masses, and I'm saying you, but me, I have to understand that the masses cannot handle, and even if they could, they don't want nuance because they have been so conditioned by our media and our entertainment complex such that they want it quick, they want it fast, they want it funny, they want the zingers, they want the one, and that's why a politician can win an entire debate for the presidency of the United States with a zinger. And I know every one of you listening to it is like, yeah, Ben, we knew that. Yeah, I know you knew that, but I've been spending the last 2.5 years being the street intellectual, being the people's scholar, right? You know, I have some formal education, but a lot of my stuff is just self-taught, right? So I've been spending the greater part of these 2 years. And then it dawned on me this morning dealing with Jesse Lee Peterson. So thank you, Jesse. I actually do want to thank you. It took an oath like yourself. And again, let me not throw shade because it's masterful. It is masterful. It is a way to keep the hermetically sealed bubble intact and never have to worry about the truth penetrating. Hey, folks, the truth can't penetrate these circles. And the problem is that these circles, they have political power. Hate to be so dramatic, but they have political power. And if we don't find a way to smash that hermetically sealed bubble, we almost need Thor's hammer. You know, we need the power of Asgard to crack this. Because it's so perfectly sealed and they have mastered the art of keeping any critical thinking outside of their bubble. This is the no critical thinking zone. And they have the ability to convince themselves, not themselves, but their viewers and their listeners that what they're doing is engaging in critical thought. But when in reality, what they're doing is just being told what they want to hear, and they are being delivered it in a manner that keeps any critical thought out, and they do it masterfully. I was like hitting a brick wall this morning. I'm like, holy shit, facts don't matter here. Holy shit, what do I do? The conversation, the things that we just said 2 seconds ago don't even matter 3 seconds later. And what do you do with people when their entire existence is 100% about hurting other people and disrespecting other people? You know, you can't go into these conversations. It's not about being politically correct, right? So it's not about politically correct. It's about making a sport out of hurting people. Not me, because I'm kind of like dead on the inside, but to use the opportunity to know that it is disrespectful and hurtful to misgender someone who's trans, right? But to use that as a sport. And a game as a tool of entertainment, right? It's not only a masterful technique, but it's an insidious technique that's designed that their audiences are groomed. Part of me, their audiences are groomed to enjoy the pain of others. I had to finish that thought. Their audiences are groomed to enjoy the pain of others. Part of me feels like, well, we just shouldn't go over there and debate with them. But that's not me. I mean, that's not, and actually that's not even a thought of mine. That's a thought of somebody else, who said, when I was debating Sargon of Akkad, they were like, nothing ever comes of these debates. So why even go over there and debate them? And maybe they're right, but I'm stubborn enough to say, I'm coming over there. Listen, mother, I'm coming over there. But now the strategy has to be different. The strategy has to be different. It does not matter if you are smarter than them. It doesn't matter if you bring facts. It doesn't matter if you bring data. It doesn't matter whatsoever. It doesn't matter if you're having a flow of a conversation and then 10 seconds later they lie and reject what they said 10 seconds earlier, right? I mean, think of it. Perfect case. This is why Donald Trump is so goddamn popular. It's because this is what he does. This is all he does. This is exactly who Donald Trump is. This is the president of the United States. Think about everything that I said. Facts don't matter. He will lie in 10 seconds after he just said what he contradicts himself in 10 seconds and say that you're the liar, right? He uses the ability to insult people as a sport, as a means of entertainment. They probably don't care about any of the issues, but they know that they can harm the LGBTQ community with certain words and phrases. That's why he refers to, that's why he uses nicknames. He slanders Elizabeth Warren with Pocahontas, right? So he goes for things that are, maybe you're not harmed by them. Maybe you're not insulted by them, but the people around you are insulted and offended for you. This is the sport that they live in. This is the world that they live in. And this is the sport that they engage in. And folks, we don't have the luxury of not confronting them on their turf. We have to go into their camps and crack that hermetically sealed bubble open, if for no other reason than to keep the idiots from reproducing younger idiots. And I'm not talking biologically, I'm talking philosophically, intellectually, for them to pass down this technique of keeping critical thought outside of their bubble. We have to crack that, because how are we going to change this in the long run if we don't get to some of their viewers and some of their listeners and pluck them off one at a time, convince them to, it's like waking them up out of the goddamn matrix. We have to be able to do that. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we dumb down our conversations, dumb down our deep thoughts. I know some of you in the audience are probably like, Ben, we knew this. We just come to you because you like to ruminate over thoughts and not many people are doing it. Maybe everybody around me is dumbing down their arguments. I don't think that they are, though. I think I'm trying to think who is the left-leaning Democrat, neoliberal, progressive, liberal, whatever? Who is a person that's not a Republican? Because I don't have a way to describe all of us over here on this side of the aisle. Who is somebody who's not a Republican who goes into their camps and with a sledgehammer just bust that shit up? Who? I'm honestly trying to think. Because I think we dumb ourselves down for our arguments sometime on the left, right? You do have some people like Jimmy Dore. His stuff is extremely dumbed down. And, Tim Black, his stuff is extremely streamlined. I'll say it like that. And this is not to insult them, even though it might be an insult. But I'm not saying it to insult them. I'm saying they're the only guys I could think of who deliver their content intentionally in an unintellectual manner. And that shit sells. I mean, fuck, look at their Patreon account. Look how many subscribers they have, right? But they do it, and they do it inwards towards, it's still just another form of navel gazing of leftists and people that are not Republicans. They do it and they shoot that critique over at neoliberals so that they're not doing it. So who has a streamlined, dumbed down, and when I say dumbed down, I'm not saying ignorant. I'm not saying uninformed. I'm not saying something that's lacking critical substance. I'm saying something that is streamlined, talking points. I mean, just a fist fight. I mean, who's having a fist fight with conservatives? Who's having a street brawl with rhetoric with conservatives? They might be out there and I'm just missing it. I'm thinking of everybody. I know Tom Hartman is not that guy. Tom Hartman has more nuanced conversations than I do. No, I don't think he has more nuanced conversations than I do. I think he has more, he's more well-read than I am. And so he'll have the conversations and he'll reference like 30 books in one sentence. So it's not necessarily more nuanced, but it's far more intellectual in the sense that he's able to instant recall like philosophers from, 250 years ago and tell you the page of the book it was on. I think he has like didactic memory or something. So Tom Hartman's not doing it. Randy Rhodes, who's the radio host that got me interested in doing radio, she's she's got it, but she doesn't go into the camp. She doesn't go into the enemy's camp and fight with them. So I'm thinking, like, who actively goes over there? And you know what? I'll be that. I'll be that. Because I got into this thing to fight conservatism, because while, fighting against neoliberalism in the Democratic Party is fighting conservatism, there's still a greater monster out there called conservatism. And they have, it's like brains. Their brains are, I mean, seriously. No. I know you think Fox News is bad, but when you break out into all these democratized media platforms, like all these little mini Fox Newses that are on the internet, you break out into the Blaze, you break out, look at the language of Dana Loesch or whatever, however the hell you pronounce her last name. Look at the rhetoric there, right? The people probably think she's a brilliant intellectual in terms of the right because she actually can string together a coherent sentence. I mean, the bar is pretty low over there. Right. But who we don't have it. That's the point. So it's not just me. It's not just that your boy Jesse Lee Peterson won this morning because whatever. But it's because we on the left are not prepared for that fight, because that fight, all the rules of common sense, all the rules of logic, all the rules of debate, all the rules of basic principles of fact are irrelevant. Are completely irrelevant. I mean, think about it. Think about the fact that, think about the worst person you ever had a conversation with on Facebook. Republican, conservative. Think about that, and think about them having their own media platform with thousands of listeners, tens of thousands of listeners. I mean, can you imagine? Do you realize, and I haven't done it in a while, maybe that's my fault. Maybe I need to get back on Facebook and see how dumb people really are. And I'm sorry. Listen, this isn't me trying to make myself seem smart. I'm trying to honestly diagnose a real problem in the competition of, I mean, okay, how the hell do you think Alex Jones is as successful as he is? Society has been trained to be dumb. And okay. Marcuse. What was it? Eros and Civilization is the book. I believe that's the book. And if I were to give a non-ad hominem version of what I just said, it's not that society is being trained to be dumb. It's that society is being drained of all of their existence. All of their life force is being drained by this capitalistic system, draining them 9 to 5 from 8 to 10, all day, every day. They're pouring out everything that they have. And so by the time they get home, they have absolutely zero interest in delving into the deep nuances of a political issue. Not the average American. The average American wants to cut on the TV and either see something like Tom and Jerry and the Three Stooges for the 21st century, right? Because that's basically all television is. They want the soap operas now of the 20th century, the reality shows. Right? They want that because it just helps them to recharge and help them to get ready to go back into the fields, into the mines, into the workforce, and have their life force sucked out of them. And so doing what we do on our show is critical analysis of just about every issue. Right? And just now, maybe in the last couple of years, I've gotten to a place, or a couple of weeks rather, gotten to a place where, I let my hair down and I try to be, but it's like coming to class, going to I could hear Vita, one of our callers. Vita, if you're listening, I hear you. I've always heard you. You were always there. Doctor Who. But anyway, I always heard you, right? Because it's like, it's like we're out here showing off how smart we are. And for me, it's never been about showing off how smart I am, as it is using my intelligence to deconstruct everything that we run into. And then you finally run into people like conservatives and realize deconstructing the nuances of a particular debate. The sky is green, motherfucker. That's what, yes, the sky is good. That's the difference. That's what we're fighting up against. We're fighting up against people who literally will look at the fact that Donald Trump, has done nothing for the economy because Barack Obama's budget just ended. They would look at that fact. They would look at the fact that 38 million Americans, many of them are going to lose, are going to have taxes raised on them. And they will look at that fact and say, that's not true. That's not true. They would just completely reject facts. And this is why politics have become religion, right? In so many ways. There's no way to crack that seal, man. There's no way to use. They are inoculated. If I were to put it in an eloquent sentence, conservatives are inoculated against intelligence. They are immune to intelligence. And someone who is completely immune to intelligent conversations, there's nothing that the left can do, because we've spent all of our time getting to the bottom of a matter. So what do we do? All right, I've explained it enough. Always keep our minds sharp and open and deep and nuanced, and go into the complexities and explain the differences, and never allow ourselves to fall prey to the exact same problems of people on the right who have become inoculated against intelligence. But simultaneously, we have to operate in both worlds. We have to do both, and we're going to have to use their system against them. The system of oversimplified talking points, the system of dumbed down talking points, the system of reject. I mean, it's almost hard, because that behavior, there's the dilemma. That behavior is poisonous to us. It's like we're allergic to that. We break out in hives. Like it's so, like, I itch when I hear dumb arguments. But how do we break that hermetically sealed bubble if we don't get in there and just cause some chaos and just knock their heads, rhetorically speaking, knock their heads back and forth? And I think it is 100% a worthwhile endeavor, because if for no other reason, if we don't save anyone from this generation, we absolutely have to stop them from reproducing ignorance. We have to stop them. It's just like I said a few weeks ago on the podcast only, when I'm like, we have to confront the conspiracy theorists. We have to. Because if we don't, they're going to replicate. They're going to clone themselves. They're going to reproduce more conspiracy theorists. And we've become so comfortable. We've become satisfied. We have become satisfied with being great thinkers in our circle. On the left, we become satisfied with being the great minds in our circle. But that's not progress, right? The people who come to listen to our shows, they're probably people who wanted to hear this type of stuff anyway, right? We're not proselytizing progressivism. We're not taking it down to the simplicity of the gospel. Right? We're not taking it down to people that and showing them that if you just confess with your heart and believe with your mouth, boom, you're saved. That's simple. That's a simple message that can spread across the globe and remain for thousands of years. Our conversations require footnotes. Our conversations require an index. A bibliography. Our conversation requires charts and graphs and timelines. And I don't begrudge that, because I actually love that. I should bring a chalkboard in the room so we could do that. But at the same time, that is not what's going to advance the progressive agenda beyond our borders. For us to go beyond our borders as progressives and convince some people and convert some people from the darkness and bring them into the light of progressivism. I'm using religious rhetoric on purpose, obviously. For us to do that, we're going to have to simplify our message, and we're going to have to simplify, and we're going to have hand-to-hand combat. We're going to have to go into their camp. We're going to have to go. Okay, here's the other thing I want to talk about very briefly. We're going to have to go to Fox News. We're going to have to go into their territory. Do not go on Fox News. Shout out to Glenn Greenwald, who's still my friend. I still chat with him in DMs all the time. Donna Brazil and Nominki Konst. Do not go on Fox News just simply to either promote your book or to forward your argument that is a valid argument, but it is playing into the Murdoch machine that has been so detrimental to American society. It is the grand propaganda machine. Everything that we see with the Blaze, with Newsmax, with all these other outlets, they're just trying to replicate the propagandistic machine that is Fox News. How can anyone of good conscience, anyone, I'm choking on my words. How could you go on Fox News as if they are a valid platform? You only go on Fox News to fight. Okay? You only go to Fox News to fight with them. Don't ever go on Fox News to have them say amen to something that you have to say. I don't want their agreement. You shouldn't want their agreement. Because no matter what they agree with you on, you have to understand that they're only agreeing with you because it plays to the narrative that serves their propagandistic agenda. I guess I'm more hype about that than everything else that I just got through saying, but I'm really feeling that, because this is the thing. When you go into their camps, you don't go into the enemy's camp and sit there and have dinner with them and have them talk about, what you agree on or what you dislike about your team. Well, Ben, team is tribalistic. Hey. I'm very tribalistic when it comes to this propaganda machine that has been ruining America for at least 20 years now. Fox News, it is us versus them. It is in every sense of the word. And I don't care what they say that may sound like they agree with you. You have to understand what they're saying that agrees with you is being that information. While it may be true, it's being used to weave a deeper narrative, a more detrimental narrative intentionally to undermine your goals in the long run. This is why we had the entire falling out with we had the parting of the ways with the conspiracy theory left, the dumb left, because they were like, oh, we have to work with anybody. We're going to work with the alt left. We're going to work with these people because we have things in common. And the things in common is that we're all anti-war. No. You don't understand. They are anti-war for reasons that are unprogressive. You like this is where the nuance comes in, and we on the left should be smart enough to handle the nuance and filter through it and then move on. Long story short, if your enemy's ultimate goal is to undermine, yes, they are our political and ideological rivals. You don't like the word enemy? Fine. Translate that into rival. They are 100% determined to undo every progressive achievement since the New Deal. That is their ultimate goal. And so anything that you have to say, I am not saying don't say it. I'm not saying don't bring criticism to the Democratic Party, because I have criticism that I just gave today and I'm going to give more tomorrow. I'm not saying that. So don't become intentionally obtuse. Not now. I know I said we need to dumb down our stuff, but don't get intentionally obtuse on me. Right? I'm not saying don't have criticisms of them. I'm saying don't use the platform, the propagandistic, the platform of your ideological rival whose only goal is to undermine your goals in general. The very thing that you want in the long run, they are there to undermine it. So why would you give ammunition to them for them to shoot you later? Well, Ben, it's quite literally, it's the fact that MSNBC and other platforms are not going to allow us to forward our ideas on their platforms. I get it. I get it. Build your own platform then. Build your own platform. If you go on Fox News, people, you go on Fox News to fight. Yeah, Ben, but they're making some good points about the DNC. Do you understand the reason they're making the points about the DNC is ultimately that they want to crush every single thing that's progressive, in such that they can describe the DNC as socialist so that they can make them seem extreme, when in fact the DNC is very neoliberal, center-right. But that's not good enough for them. Being center-right is not good for them. They want an America that has no semblance of a safety net, no responsibility from our robber barons to the society from which they rob. No responsibility. They are doing the bidding of their corporate masters, and their goal is not anything that a progressive should ever want, number one, but their goal is to completely erase, not eviscerate, but erase progressivism from the face of the earth. And you think that it's a good idea to go into their camp, to rub shoulders with them so that you could talk about why you disagree with Democrats who I agree are shitty? I'm sorry. I guess this was, I didn't realize this was, I didn't intend on talking about this. But you don't do that. If you're going on Fox News, you go to Fox News to fight. Period. Ben, you can't tell us what to do. No, I can't tell you what to do, but I sure as hell can talk about you if you keep doing that, because that's like, I mean, fuck me, man. Seriously, Donna Brazile, you're going over there to promote your book. I mean, hell, I guess she might as well, because she's burned her bridges everywhere. But still, this is not a game, people. Like, I like covering election night like it's sports, right? Like it is sport. Like, I like covering election night like it's the Super Bowl. You know, us versus them. It's a football game. But when we get to the actual policies of what's happening, there are real life implications, and they are trying to hurt actual people. And Fox News is the greatest mouthpiece for that assault on common people. And they are such masters at it that they have convinced common people that what they're trying to do is actually good for them. And their method of convincing these common people, us common people, their method of doing that is Fox News. And so anything that they would bring you on to talk about that they even would want you on, that's not a hostile interview, is 100% about that goal of confusing and deceiving common people into thinking that taking away every single thing that could possibly help their lives is actually good for them. That is what Fox News has always been about. That is what Fox News does. And you have to realize, if your arguments are being brought on to their show for them to say amen to what you have to say, then yes, your argument may be very valid. And I'm sure it is, because I'm talking about people that I generally agree with on so many things, but they're using your argument. They're weaponizing your argument to hurt you in the long run. I just don't believe, I 100% do not believe in giving my political rival the weapon they need to destroy me. Better yet, let me explain it like this. We are a dysfunctional lot. We are a dysfunctional family here on the opposite side of the Republican Party. We've got may have some irreconcilable differences, maybe some things that we may have to divorce over. It very well may be. But on the outside of this, on the other side of the street, are a group of people who want to take our houses and tell us, take our family home away from us and tell us that it was actually for our good. And what I learned growing up is that fights that happen in your home stay in your home. You don't take what's happening in your home and you take it to your neighbors so that your neighbors, who have every intention of just destroying your household, can use it later on to destroy your household. I mean, does it make sense? I haven't practiced well enough. I'm not at the point yet that I can really dumb stuff down and simplify it, right? So it may be complicated still, but ultimately, you know, what happens at home stays at home. This is an infight. This is an infight between people who are competing to have control over the Democratic Party or have control of the left-leaning spectrum in American politics. You don't go to the right, who thinks that anything left of Rand Paul is socialism and has to be purged from the earth. You don't go over there. And this is how I got to it. Because I said it's very important for us to dumb down our messages, to weaponize our messages, and go into their camps so that we can convince people to leave, so we can break that hermetically sealed bubble. And the only people that I remember going into Fox News over the last year, except for George Cicerello, the only people who have known to go over there are going over there to say things that Tucker Carlson loves, because it forwards his narrative and his agenda and the agenda of his corporate overlords. And their agenda is not just to destroy the Democratic Party. They don't give a shit about the Democratic Party. Their agenda is to completely erase progressivism from the face of the earth and to undo the last, 75 years of the New Deal. All right. That's all I've got for you. Is that it, Ben?
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.